Mr. Broadcaster forgot to turn the microphones up.
That's okay.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside Furman Athletics, where we are off to a roaring start. I am Dan Scott. Good to have you with us. And we are joined this week by the once and now again current coach of the women's lacrosse team here at Furman, Rachel Shuck Whitten. Rachel, how are you?
I'm doing good.
Pull that microphone up just a little. There we go. All right, good. Well, it's good to see you. I think we were talking before we started this during your first tenure here. We may have just started doing Inside Furman Athletics on a regular basis, so you might have done this once.
Yes, I think right before I left.
Okay, so now we're going to double that
Yes,
and
love
move forward.
And keep doing it.
Yes, exactly. So how are you?
Doing good, doing good. First official day on campus in my office, back at it.
Yeah, and we want to talk about that because last week when we had Jason Donnelly, the athletic director, on, we tried to kick off the new seasons of Inside Furman Athletics with a Ask JD the AD segment, and he talked a little bit about the process that led to you coming back here to the program that you started from scratch those many years ago, right?
Yes, yep, from scratch. Myself and a couple other people came in after my first year. I was all alone, and then after that I had Amber, Falcone, Mackenzie, and Gabi Wiegand, and we did it together.
All right, it goes so far back, I think, that Gary Clark is the one who hired you, right?
Yes.
That is two athletic directors.
I know. So
it has been a while. Since then, you had a nice run at Coastal Carolina University, and now available to come back here. So we want to talk about that whole process a little bit, but just to catch our fans up, how's life been for you since the last time we saw you here wearing Furman purple?
Good. I had my kids while I was here. When they left, they were little peanuts, and now they are in 5th grade and 7th grade. They started today. So back in kind of the mix of school mode for them. So they've just been growing and loving and living life. My husband and I, have enjoyed our time while we were close to the beach and excited to get back here in Greenville.
You know, it's interesting. We laugh because Furman basketball's played in what's called the Myrtle Beach Classic in Conway, which is not Myrtle Beach.
Yes.
So,
but it's right outside.
If it's not close enough to see the water, you can't really call it the beach. But
I agree.
But people do anyway.
Yes.
But so let's talk about how you got back here, because when Jason was on last week, he said that as they were beginning the process of finding candidates to interview for the open position, that the phrase "you need somebody who is like Rachel" kept coming up. And Rachel did this. How did Rachel do it? And then he said the light bulb kind of went on and said, well, if that's what keeps coming up, maybe we should see if she wants to come back. Yeah. So tell me about that process, because he said it started with a phone call and then it went over the course of a few weeks.
I think originally in the start of the summer with Sydney kind of staying on staff, I was kind of helping her just through the process of taking over for a little bit and helping her kind of navigate what next steps would be. And then when Jason called, it really surprised me. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't something I was expecting. I feel like my time at Coastal has been amazing, and we've built something really great there. Great team. So it wasn't something that I was looking to necessarily leave. But I think after with Jason, the conversations, and then sitting down with my husband and really thinking about, what we kind of wanted to do and the opportunity to come back here and continue to build off of what has been built while I've been gone. And having alumni who, I started the program with back with me type of thing, was really exciting. And so, it wasn't an easy decision, I'm not going to lie, only because, we had been settled there. But I think when we actually thought and got down to the nitty gritty of it, it was an opportunity that maybe you didn't want to pass up, I think.
What did you have to see about commitment to the program that would lead you to leave an obviously fairly comfortable situation to come back here?
I think the passion that Jason and Sue have for the program, I think all the things that they spoke about, the team, the players, and what they're looking for, and having gotten to, whether it's talk through phone calls or text messages with some of the players, they want that championship and they want to really build and continue to be, a team that is, we're still young, but still build a legacy that we can have here. There's still first that we haven't had. We haven't hit that NCAA tournament, which would be such an exciting thing. So I think that allowed me to think about what we could do here. And I think Jason really is committed to wanting the program to be successful. And I think that's really important, is that having that backing. And I think you can also see that in the alumni, the parents, the fans, that they want it to be something that is consistently at the top of the conference.
When you left, the program since then has gone through 2 head coaches in 4 or 5 years. So there's not been a lot of stability here.
Yeah.
Which would have to be a concern, I think, to fans, to alumni, even to players, current players here. Speak to reestablishing that kind of stability.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I am really big on connecting with my players. And so I think that's something that they're going to learn from me on and off the field. It's not just about on the field for me, but I like to know who they are as people. I like to know who their families are. And I think that helps build that connection. And then from there, I think, I just uprooted my family to move here. And so I'm not looking to come in and, move on. I want to build something. And so I hope that commitment is what they see, is that I'm coming in here to continue to take it to the next level.
Well, let's flash back a little bit, because if I'm reading Wesley Herring's notes correctly, you were hired by Gary Clark in 2012, and then, of course, the process to build a program from nothing started playing in 15. Is that right?
Yes. So I was hired, and in 2012, we basically moved here that late August, early fall. And then from there, that entire year, I was really on the road a lot recruiting. So we had nobody on campus. I really spent that year recruiting. And then the next year, we had, I think it was 13 girls. God bless those girls. They bought into me. They bought into my vision, and they, for a year, practiced and scrimmaged. No real games. And I've been to probably almost every one of their weddings. They are some of the most amazing people. Love every bit of them. And the commitment that they made to come here and build this with me. And so then that following year was the first actual year that we got going.
What were those early days like?
Oh, if you ask them, they might say a bit of craziness and a lot of, blood, sweat, and tears probably. But I think it's unique when you get to do something like that, because you get out there and you just start kind of grinding, and you make your own traditions. You make, there's memories that we still talk about when I see them at these events and things that, were something that we grew up together a little bit as well. I was my first time as a head coach, and so I wasn't perfect. I definitely made mistakes. There's things I look back now and go, oh, I probably would have done that differently now that I know. But I also think that, when you have a group, and like I said, Amber and Gabi were my assistants. We still, the 3 of us are on a chain and talk about those times, and just what an opportunity we had to do something.
The fact that you came in with no head coaching experience. You had been at University of Denver as an assistant coach for 6 years, and of course you were an All-American player at Loyola. So you had the player background, you had the assistant coach background. But when you're a first-time head coach, I guess one of the things that you have to have if you're going to succeed is to know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would that be accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually just got off the phone with Liza Kelly, who's the head coach at Denver still. I went there with her, literally was in the car with her on my way here. And, I think she was such a big mentor for me, that she helped me prepare the best that you can for your first time kind of getting after it. And I still talk to her all the time about, the changes that, we make as coaches and life. And she's such a great mentor to me.
Visiting with Rachel Shuck Whitten on this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. The lady who started the women's lacrosse program here at Furman is now back to regain control of the program. During her first tenure here, 68 wins, 2 Southern Conference regular season championships in 2019 and 2021, the 2021 SoCon Coach of the Year. So to go from nothing to 2 regular season championships in the time that you were here, that's pretty good.
Yeah. You know what? I would love to say it was me, but it was the people I surround myself with. That's really important. And then the players, honestly.
Yeah, but you're the one who brought everybody in.
You know,
you have
I
to
do.
take. I'm setting it on the tee for you to take a little bit of credit here.
I
Come on.
know. It's I do think yes, I definitely feel like I was very fortunate enough to make that happen. And I do think that there's so many pieces that go into it. But I think what comes to get to that point is what you do, the blood, sweat, and tears that
Right.
you put into it. But I think it is what I go back to is the connections that you make with the players. And like, I think about, some of the people that came through this program and they would have laid their, anything on the ground for the teammate next to them. And I think that's that mentality that we built throughout the years, so that by the end, before, I moved on, like that was the feeling always is I'm doing it for the person next to me.
Right, and all joking aside, we all know that you can't do it alone.
No.
You set the tone as a leader.
Yeah.
But you cannot do it by yourself. It takes an infrastructure that you had to build from scratch.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: what did you learn during the time you were away? Why are you a better coach now than you were the first time you were here?
I think for me, it's not all about wins and losses. And not that I think that's how I felt while I was here, but I think having built it here and when I left, I was like, all right, like I'm going to go to the next place and I'm going to have that there because I built that here. And even though it took us time and there was so much to it in my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to Coastal Carolina and like, I'm just going to jump in and hit the ground running. Like, whoop, had to stop a second and realize that there's a part to it. And I will say that year, I think I focused a lot on wins and losses and not so much building the team and who the team is and them buying into what I'm about and what my program is about. And so that took us a little bit of time and just through that year. And I think the first, semester, I didn't realize like, oh, wait, these girls don't know me.
Right.
They don't yes, I had Hannah Demis come, that spring season and Avery Whitehead, and they played for me that year. Sid McClure came, but it was still not quite like you actually have to have a team understand who you are as
Right.
a person. And so I think that is something I learned is like, I was lucky to build it from the ground up. And I took something over. So now I'm back to taking something over with about a lot of girls who don't know me,
Right.
who have no idea. They didn't come here for me, and that's okay. It's now, okay, how do we kind of come together and build something together?
It's about building relationships, I think, even more now in the current landscape of college athletics. I'm talking about coach to player than it was before, because you always had to build a relationship when you were recruiting players
Yeah.
to get them in. But with where we are and what college athletics looks like now, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I would think the relationship piece is even more important than it used to be.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you also are trying to figure out how to coach somebody, and everyone's different, I think people are like, be really hard on me, and someone else is, needs to be this, and some people learn differently, whether we show a play a certain way, whether we draw it up, whether we do film. Like, I do think building a relationship to figure out who each player is really important. But then I think also knowing what makes them tick. And when they're having a bad day and recognizing like, okay, maybe today's the day that I step off this a little bit because I recognize that it's not the day.
Well, and I heard it from, I can't remember, I think it was a football coach years ago who said that he told his team, I'm going to treat everybody fairly, but I'm not going to treat everybody the same because you have to take different personalities, and so one player you can really ride hard, and another player, if you do that, they're going to completely shut down. And the old way of coaching was my way or the highway. This is how I'm going to do it. If you can't take it, that's too bad. I think we have seen a shift in that. Would you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And I also think like everybody wants to say that you can be as hard as you can on me, just yell at me, scream at me, this. everybody needs love in some ways. Everybody needs to know when they are hitting the marks they're supposed to. And so it's finding that balance of, the toughness, but also holding them accountable, discipline, all those pieces, but then also celebrating when you recognize that they've made the achievement that you're asking them to do is really important.
In 2024 at Coastal, you won the tournament championship and got to experience going to an NCAA tournament as a coach for the first time.
Yeah.
How did that whet your appetite for more?
Oh, it was amazing. I think that group and that team, the staff, just everybody in that moment, were really bought into the same mindset. We wanted it. We wanted it really bad. Bought into the game plan, and so I think it made me kind of like, that's what I want every year. And I think, and not just make the NCAA tournament, like I want us to get into, top 25 rankings. Like I want to be a program that is consistently hitting all the marks. And obviously, at Furman, while I was here, even we didn't get to the NCAA tournament. So we still have that ability to kind of create a first, which I think adds a little bit more edge and excitement to it.
When you see the success that the men's soccer program has had as an Olympic sport, really over a long period of time, but especially the last 2 years, the final 2 years of Doug Allison's tenure, 2 seasons ago, winning the conference, winning a game in the NCAA tournament at North Carolina, and then, of course, last year, the magical run to the Final Four. There's a belief that small private schools can't compete on the highest level. When you see what that soccer team has done, does that serve as an inspiration?
Oh, 100%. And I was so happy for Doug. From afar, I was watching and totally deserved every moment of that just from all the work he's put in. And I know he'll say it was all the people around him that made that happen. But I do think when you connect the right people, you have the right mindset, and you are just pushing for that goal, I think anything is possible. And you do see it in our sport. It's very similar. Everyone's like, oh, the top, SECs, or not SECs for us, but more so big 12s and ACCs. Those are the ones that are really going to go to that next level. Then you see someone like University of Denver, who was in the Final Four a couple years ago. They're a small private school. They're in the Big East, but they're not necessarily, a Power 5 type of school. So I do think it is possible for a school.
Does that tell us everything we need to know about college athletics if the University of Denver's in the Big East?
Yeah, I know. Yes, exactly. Yes.
So you come back. You said this is your first official day on campus.
Yes.
Wesley tells me that the team's returning 28 letter winners, 14 newcomers here. How much recruiting have you had to do just of your own players to keep people here on campus?
So, when I got the job, the portal was kind of already closed in a sense. Obviously, once a coach is kind of moved, you can get into different things. But it was more a matter of kind of giving them the space to want to reach out to me if they want, and really kind of just saying, hey, we're going to get after it when we get on there. I think as far as the team, I'm still getting to kind of know who they are. We really haven't even got to meet face to face yet.
Right.
So for me, it's kind of a blank slate is the way I look at it for all of them, which is exciting for incoming freshmen because usually they're coming on to a team where there's already maybe roles established and that kind of thing. And for me, I'm just excited to kind of, someone asked me, like, did you go back and watch old games from last year or the year before? Did you go to their recruiting things? And I actually didn't. I want to just get out there and see what they bring to the table and not form opinions based off of maybe the position they were last year or that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that same question if you had watched game film from at least a year ago to try to get familiar with the players. But to me, that's an interesting approach because even doing that, while there's a ton of positives to that, I guess the one thing that it could do is it could consciously or subconsciously start to develop biases based on just what you saw there, as opposed to, like you say, getting out, seeing it for yourself, and maybe putting people in different positions and seeing what they can do.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is I mean, obviously they have their positions listed, but even with that, it's kind of a, not a free for all, but an opportunity for them to maybe reinvent themselves, which is funny because my husband kind of says the same thing right now. He's like, we're obviously all four of us nervous about moving, and we kind of were established. And he's like, we can reinvent ourselves as a new family in a way, not that you need to, but I think they can now reinvent themselves in a different way if they want to. And I think, don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of nerves that come with a new coach, 100%. I also know that the consistency piece has been really tough for them. So they're like, oh, great, I got to do this again.
Right.
But I think for me, the goal is really to just get out there and start getting after it and get gritty and compete every day. Like, that's what I want us to do.
Yeah, and that's a good point. We're talking about the fact that there have been two different coaches here since you left. And I don't know the roster makeup, but if you have a senior or multiple seniors on this team who have been here throughout that, you'll be the third coach that they've played for in 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's got to be a little mentally taxing, I would think.
I'm sure. I think it is. And those are things that I will note and know and remember that, coming into this, that there's probably things that they're like, oh gosh, this is how it happened the last time that we had a changeover. And I think my biggest thing is just hoping that they come in open-minded. I'm coming in open-minded and buying into the fact that we're going to work hard. Like, it's not going to be easy day one. We're going to get after it right away. But I also love what I do. I have a lot of fun, and I enjoy laughter. I enjoy, like the little things. And so it's hopefully giving them opportunities to see that I'm human as well. And maybe that takes a little bit of the stress off of some things as this starts for them.
Speaking of stress, how much convincing did you have to do of your school-age children that this is going to be good for us and move them from a comfortable situation?
Yeah, they were pretty good, actually.
Really good.
I would say my son was definitely a little bummed at first. He's got like a core group of friends in our neighborhood. They're like a scooter gang that would like scoot around everywhere, and go and you kind of your dream that a lot of kids don't have right now is where are all the scooters, where are we going to go play, that kind of thing.
You mean they actually want to be outside?
They want to be outside.
Wow.
I mean, he would get home from school and hop on and go, and I wouldn't see him till like I think 6:45 was his time he had to be home by. And my daughter, she's bummed to leave her friends, but was excited about the opportunity at something different. And I do think that Greenville, there's so much to do here.
Right.
And so I think for us, we just look at it like, we have a new adventure. And I think it's very rare that people get to kind of change things in life, even though it's hard. I do think it makes us all stronger.
All right, as we get ready to wrap up with Rachel Shuck Whitten, the once and now again Furman women's lacrosse coach, what is the immediate schedule, the timeline? What are you going to be doing? What can you do with your players this time of year? Just kind of lay out what the fall is going to look like.
Yeah, so they move in next week, the 20th. It's next week. I don't even know what date it is these days, but they move in. So we get our freshmen settled in. That obviously is the first part. And then once classes start, we're in 8 hours, which is basically more so small-sided stuff, maybe 4 hours a week tops of lacrosse. We get 4 hours to do some maybe conditioning, lifting, things like that, team meetings. We'll do some, obviously, kind of try to do some team bonding and team building things. And then in the middle of September, we start 20 hours. So that's when we kind of get after it and really get into practice for the fall. We get 5 scrimmage days. We'll probably use 3 to 4 of those for scrimmages just to see where we are. And then for me, it's really about seeing what this team is all about.
Right.
And it's kind of getting a feel for who they are, what do we need. And every year it's that way.
Right.
So every year you're trying to figure out what is this team all about this year. And so that's what we'll have to figure out.
So it would be unfair for me to ask you what would you consider a successful first season back, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Oh, that is unfair.
I know.
I think for me,
well, when we talk in the spring, I'll ask you again.
Yeah. I think for me, what I will feel is truly successful for me is starting to build the foundation of a program that is now under my leadership, and I think building a family.
Yeah.
And that family is going to have great days, and there's going to be days where you have ups and downs, but it's building that kind of, I would run through a brick wall for the person next to me feeling, because I think that's what's going to bring the wins in the spring. It's not going to just be because I roll a ball out and say, show me your best right now. It's going to be, are you willing to do it for the person next to you? So
Right.
for me, if I can say at the end of the year, that is the program that we have started the foundation of, then I think we'll have had a successful year.
You know, I have a talk that I give the men's group a lot of times, and the topic is surrender and submission, which sounds really counterintuitive, but if you're willing to do that for the person beside you in the trenches, that's going to make you a better teammate. It's going to ultimately make you a better team.
Yeah.
If you're willing to do what's best for them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we'll get there.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same. Like, I want to feel like I would go to the ends of the earth for my player, and I want them to feel the same way as a coach. And so day one, no, they're probably going to look at me and be like, oh, all right, this is what this lady has to say. But hopefully by the end of the fall, we've taken a step forward, and by the end of spring, we're moving in that direction.
Who does she think she is, and what does she know?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, I am looking forward to when we do it again in the spring, once your sport actually starts competitively, to finding out how that relationship building over these next 3 or 4 months has gone. Because I'm going to be really interested to see how they've bought in, and how you will be looking at the experience after you've been here again for another 3 or 4 months.
Yes, definitely.
Good. It's good to see you.
Yeah,
and
you
welcome
too.
back.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That is all for this week's edition of Inside Furman Athletics. We will be back again next week with another brand new episode. Until then, for Rachel, I'm Dan Scott. As always, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.